All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about a massive problem in Ontario, wood waste. From all the construction and demolition. But what if there was a way to use technology to turn that pile of scrap wood from a total liability into a genuinely valuable asset? Well, that's exactly what the 905 Wood Digital Refinery is all about.
A structural rupture. Now, that's not my phrase. That's pulled right from an industry report. And it sounds dramatic for a reason, because it is. The old way of doing things, just hauling waste to a landfill, it's completely breaking down. We desperately need a new model.
And here's the sheer scale of that rupture. Every single year, Ontario generates about 1 million tons of this stuff. That is a staggering amount of material that, up until now, we've pretty much just treated as a problem to bury in the ground.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll dig into the crisis itself. Then, we'll look at the digital refinery solution. After that, we'll get into the real nuts and bolts of how it works, how it actually turns that waste into an asset, and finally, the really crucial part, the digital proof that makes the whole thing legitimate. Okay, so let's start with the why. Why is all this happening right now? What are the big pressures that are forcing this entire industry to change its ways?
It's really a perfect storm of 4 different things hitting all at once. First, we are physically running out of room. Our landfills could be completely full in less than a decade. At the same time, you've got new rules like the CIRCIL levy that are making the old just dump it model super expensive. And on top of that, outright bans on landfilling clean wood are right around the corner. All of this really just shines a spotlight on the fatal flaw of the old system. It treats wood as worthless.
Which, of course, brings us to the solution. If the old way is broken, what does the new one even look like? This is where technology really steps in to completely redefine the game.
The solution is this idea of a digital refinery. I want you to think of it just like an oil refinery. But instead of taking in crude oil, it takes in messy, chaotic wood waste. And through a bunch of smart digital and physical processes, it spits out a clean, standardized, and really valuable product on the other side.
And this slide right here shows the core problem it's trying to solve, what insiders call the quality gap. On one hand, you have construction waste. It's wet, it's full of nails, plastic, all sorts of junk. But on the other hand, the new bioeconomy needs a super pure feedstock. It has to be incredibly dry with almost zero contamination. The refinery's entire job is to bridge that massive gap.
So how does it actually do it? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine that drives this whole thing.
The whole system is built on a 5-layer architecture. It all starts with intake, moves through logistics and regulatory, then to financials, and the whole thing is supported by a final layer of scientific validation. Each layer has a very specific and very important job. Layer 1 is what they call the compliance gate. This happens right on the job site. Using an app on a phone, an on-device AI scans the wood in the bin, and in less than 2 seconds, it makes a critical call. Is this clean wood we can recycle, or is it treated wood that needs to be handled differently? It's all about being proactive, not reactive.
Next up, the logistics module. This is a classic hub-and-spoke model. So, instead of everything going to one giant facility, waste goes to smaller, local hubs. At these hubs, it gets sorted, dried, and ground down into these tiny little chips. Smart software manages all the trucks, making sure they follow weight laws and, crucially, don't mix clean and treated wood, which is a huge regulatory no-no. It even uses a first-in, first-out system so that the wood piles don't just sit there and rot.
Layer 3 is basically the compliance brain of the operation. It uses a really clever type of AI that's been trained on the actual text of Ontario's environmental laws. So if a load gets flagged, the system doesn't just say reject it. It can actually tell you the specific rule in Regulation 347 that triggered the flag. This gives you a totally auditable, explainable reason for every decision.
So that's the tech. It's smart, it's compliant. But what does it actually mean for a customer's bottom line? This is the so what of this whole system.
This slide shows the real financial magic here, a switch to what's called decoupled billing. The old way was just one big bundled fee to make the problem disappear, but the new model breaks it all down. You see the charge for the truck, the charge for processing, and, this is key, a separate line for that CIRCIL levy. And here's the kicker. If your wood is verified as clean, that levy can drop to 0. It creates a powerful financial incentive to sort your waste properly.
But wait, it gets even better. It's not just about avoiding costs. It's about actually generating new revenue. The system opens up a whole new value stream called carbon dividends.
So here's the number you need to know.
When that clean wood feedstock gets turned into a stable material called biocarbon, it literally locks away carbon. For every ton of dry wood you process, you can generate a carbon credit that's equivalent to pulling 3/4 of a ton of CO2 right out of the atmosphere. And the money from selling that credit? It gets shared back with you, the customer.
Now, of course, for any of this to work, for regulators to be satisfied, for carbon markets to actually pay up, you need proof. You need a completely unbreakable, auditable trail from the moment that wood leaves the site to its final destination.
And this is the question that everybody asks, right? It's one thing to say you diverted waste, but how can you really prove it? How do you build trust in a system like this?
The answer is a brand new type of document, the Digital Diversion Certificate. And this isn't just some PDF. It's a data-rich, fully verifiable digital record for every single truckload.
And this right here is the technical backbone that makes it all possible. Now, you don't need to be a database whiz, but what this shows is a permanent digital link between the physical bin of wood, its regulatory paperwork, and the final invoice. Every single piece of the puzzle is digitally connected, creating that bulletproof audit trail. And that digital certificate verifies 4 absolutely critical things. First, the exact origin, confirmed by GPS. Second, the composition. What percentage was clean versus treated, all verified by the AI. Third, the destination, proving it actually went to a biocarbon facility and not some backroad landfill. And finally, proof of transformation, the evidence it was actually turned into that valuable feedstock.
When you put all of this together, what you get is a fundamental shift in thinking. You can see it right here. In the old model, waste was just a liability. Success was measured by how fast you could get rid of it. But in this new model, waste is a potential asset. Success is now measured by the quality of the material, which, in turn, can generate brand new revenue.
And that brings us to one last, really powerful question to think about. We've just seen how this can work for wood. But if software and AI can create this much value from something we used to just call trash, what other giant industrial waste streams are out there just waiting for their own digital refinery to come along?